Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our upcoming training with our presenter, Mr. Ian Quan. He's the director of the Illinois APEX Accelerator, and you are in for a treat because he is an expert at the subject matter. We're in for 45 minutes. This webinar will be focused on two essential pillars of the small business growth. One is networking and the other is team building. Come on, it's time for us. We're going to discover how to cultivate meaningful connection, how this can open doors for new opportunity and resources and learn proven strategies for building high performance teams that support sustainable growth and long-term success. Another thing we want you to know at the Business Enterprise Development Center that we heard your response to the survey, and this presentation is in response to what you wanted to know about building strong networks and effective teams. So with no more other ado, my name is Lynette Pennington. Again, I am a community outreach specialist with the Center with the Center of Business Enterprise Development. And if you can hear me clear, please put a 1 in the chat. Great. With nothing else further to do, we would like to hand it over to Mr. Quan. Take it away.
Thank you, Lynette. Can everyone hear me too? Put a 2? No, I'm just kidding. We're good. I'm sure you can hear me. The whole building can hear me usually. So thank you for that energetic welcome. Thank you, Lynette and the Cook County team for putting this and inviting me. Love to share my advice and my ways in this government world. So I will go ahead and start sharing the presentation for you all. All right, here we go. So just beginning, I usually like to tell about my specific center. So again, I'm Ian Quan from, I'm the APEX Accelerator, Illinois APEX Accelerator Director at Chinese Mutual Aid. We are not standalone organizations. The APEX Accelerator is all across the country, 330 locations. We have 11 here in Illinois. I happen to be the one at Chinese Mutual Aid. Been around 9 months here. We're the only Asian-based one in the whole country. We help everyone, gladly help everyone, but some people get confused with that. Why is it, the Chinese Mutual Aid? It's because it used to be the second Chinatown in Chicago. So very happy to do that. That's why I took this on. It was a mission for me, calling. So I took this on after many, almost, I hate aging myself, but over 20 years on your side. I came from your side just 10 months ago, still running 3 small businesses, all selling to the government. And a little background on Chinese Mutual Aid, been around since 81. We're here in the Uptown neighborhood, the beautiful Uptown neighborhood, helping immigrant families and all families, all those in need. Everything from social and community services, including citizenship service, language services, mentorship.
One lives on Oliphant and one lives on.
Say that again. Is that a question? Yeah, I can take questions at the end.
What the fuck is that? I see what it is, but.
And you need to unmute if you're talking to us. You're still muted, Ian.
Ian, please
There
come off mute. Thank
There you
you.
go.
Yeah. Ian, you're off mute now, so you can start. Sorry for the technical difficulties. You still can't hear. Ian, please, we can't hear you right now. No.
How about now?
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
Okay. Geez, sorry about that. All right, let's get back to it. Okay. And just a little bit more about the Chinese mutual aid. Again, uptown neighborhood serving families across Illinois. We actually have 4 centers. We're out in Elgin. We have a new center in Skokie, as well as one on a little bit more north side up here, Peterson and Western. So we can help a whole family. I love saying that. You know, we literally can help a whole family. You can move here tomorrow with your whole family. We can help the kids before and after school classes, mentorship programs. We can help you bring your parents over. We help the parents with elderly care and in-home services, in-home care. And then the 2 breadwinners, one wants to go back into the workforce. We can help with workforce development, resume writing, any of that. And then the other one, if you want to get into small business, you want to start your own small business, bring over your small business, or just wake up, you want to be an entrepreneur, we're here. That's what my economic center does. Apex is part of our economic center here. And you will see all the programs we have. SBDC, that's a little bit more beginner level. The Apex, that's more government. Once you're an established business, again, we say that's what it says in the writing, but you have me now in this market. You know, I always say I can help you from the beginner level too. You can start the business. I'm going to help you get into government. I've been doing that for well over 20 years. So on the Apex side, we do everything from, SAM registrations. We help you with your certifications, which are highly important in the state, city, county that still care. Be proud of that. We got an amazing bid service that brings you some of those opportunities from Cook County, from City of Chicago, from the state and nationwide. That if you did on your own, it would probably cost $400,000 or $500,000, easily out all those programs. But we have an aggregate program that we split among the 330 locations across the country. So it's free, zero cost to you. Just like all of our services here. You see all these, the SBDC, Apex, you'll see we're part of Cook County Source. All of these are zero costs to all of our clients. So again, also capability statements. We help you with elevator pitches, networking opportunities, webinars like this, learning, networking, connections, everything. Me, because of my 20 years, I even have. If you want to do business at Puget Sound in Seattle, French Camp, California, Camp Pendleton in California, any of those, I got connections for you. I'll find a way for you. As you see, a few more programs. We're part of the NBDC as well. Cook County Source in the middle, and then National ACE gives us a national presence as well. And we actually have 2-3 other programs. But again, all of these, zero cost to you.
We are so thankful for all the programs you offer, and we're glad to have Apex here. And of course, he's going to have his information where you could connect with him toward the end. So at this time here, we're going to start with our great presentation.
Solid. Thank you, Lynette. And thank you, and Cook County again. You know what? We're able to do this because these are Cook County programs, city programs, state programs, federal programs, that we are able to do this at zero cost to you. So thank you. All right, today we are gonna talk about these are all, I free flow, just so you all know. Those that don't know me, I like free flowing. You will have these slides to you. Lynette will send them out to all you, but some I'm gonna skip that, we can talk about later that are boring too. I'm a high energy guy, so I'm gonna talk about the really good stuff. So a lot of these, I'm going to go through what government calls like teaming, different networking styles. But what you see on the slides is mostly what formalized. I'll call it formalized. I also like the unformalized. When you are just networking with, you could be at the grocery store. You could be any of our events. That's not formalized yet, but I love that. That's your beginning steps into all these programs. So, I am the highest proponent of networking. You're not going to make it in life, and especially.
Hi, Ian. Sorry to cut you off, but we're not seeing your slides
You're not
on
seeing
the
the slides.
screen.
What is going on? What is going on? You are not seeing these slides. You didn't
It's
see
just
any of the
one of
slides
those.
at all?
No, we have not seen any slides.
Holy
Sorry.
cow. All right.
Okay, now we can see the
Yep.
slides. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Jeez.
It's
Oh,
okay.
so I
Just we
just
came to the
talked?
Thursdays.
Oh, my bad. This is so even before you didn't see all the beautiful slides with my face on it?
No, sorry. We did not realize we
All
were
right, I'm gonna
sharing
go back
slides
as
at
I
that
talk. I'm
time.
gonna come back just so
Sorry.
you see it real quick and you'll see it earlier. Oh, that is my bad. See, I was showing all these slides. I'll go through those real quick just so you see them. They're really cool pictures. See, Comptroller Mendoza. So the different programs I was talking about, SBDC, APEX Accelerator, we're part of the NBC, Cook County Source, National Ace, and we got a couple other ones. We're part of a ComEd program that is awesome. I would highly recommend calling me and letting you know about that ComEd program. They'll pay for the certifications that cost money. So pretty awesome stuff. And again, because of the wonderful people in this beautiful state, that we are able to offer all these services for zero cost to you all. Okay, now we will start. Let's get full screen. Okay, like I said, well, you're gonna see these slides. You're gonna get all these slides. We will. I'm gonna fly through them just because I like talking free flowly. So go through these. We'll go through what the feds have me do on these. So some of the more specific ones that people, you may not know about it, but this is how the federal government defines these, right? Contractor team agreements. These are just formalized. Again, you call me, I will tell you both the formal ones and the non-formal ones that I would recommend, that you can just do day to day when you're talking to neighbors, friends, grocery store, you're just meeting people at events. That's your beginning step to get into this when we're talking about networking, to get into this government world, but this is how they form it. So we'll start this. The federal government talks about 2 or more companies forming a partnership. This is after you've already made those initial ones and you're really getting set in stone. Like you've decided with 1, 2, 3, 4 partners that, we're going to go after this big bid together, Cook County or Obama Foundation, anything like that. And I always call it that Obama one because that's one of my favorite examples. It was 4 companies that probably didn't get along. They consider themselves competitors not too long ago. But to win, such a big project, they decided to work together. And now more than ever in this environment that we all live in, I would say there's never been a more important time. Work together, find your partners, network like crazy, find your partners. You're at you come to an event. I'll throw that out later too. I got a huge event next week. 500 attendees already signed up. You're all invited. I'll have Lynette and the team send you, the flyer too. But you go to these events, you come to these webinars, even at a webinar here, if you all put your name into the notes, you can, this is a chance, even webinars, you can meet each other, because you never know when that next person you meet, it could be just a friend. That's fine, right? It could be a teaming partner. It could be a customer. You wouldn't even think that, maybe you sell packaging. Everyone needs packaging. Maybe you sell gloves. So many people need PPE and gloves. That's my background. So you just never know. And you can't do that without trying. So I can't see it right now, but if you put your names, I always suggest that. Put your names, your company name, throw it out there. Introduce yourselves. And same thing as live events. You might think, I'm going to go only to the government tables. I'm going to go only to the prime contractor tables. No, you should always look. Look to your left, look to your right, look in front, behind you. You never know who you're going to meet. That literally could be your next partner, your big partner that could change your company. You could be another example I have. We just talked. I had a client meeting this morning. She wanted to go after this bid, and she's very good on this marketing side, right? But it required about 6 different components, and she could do about half. And luckily she called. I said, hey, I will send out this request to the rest of our clients and the whole Apex network in Illinois. And within an hour, we were able to find her 10 different companies that definitely wanted to work together with her. So now, instead of no bidding it right away because she had no chance, she had no partner, no friends that did that, didn't have the full team. Now she does. Now she can go after it. It's like a $2.5 million bid. So think about that, even in the future, when you see bids and you're like, you know what, I probably can't handle it. If you think this way, who did I meet at the last event? Who I could call, maybe an Apex, call an SBDC, get some of those referrals, get introduced to other partners around Illinois. All right. There are highly talented people out there. If you know each other, or even if you don't, you can find ways to team together, so don't ever say no before you ask. So again, here are these like definitions as far as federal government concerns. So you have that kind of a joint venture partnership. That's probably, after you get to that initial point, you want to put this in writing. There's ways to do it. Joint ventures, partnerships, you put it in writing, right? Another one is, you've heard the term, I'm sure all of you have, subcontractors. That's usually when you're dealing with a prime that already has the contract or has been in the field in this government marketplace for a long time. You act as a sub. You go to these events, you're going to meet a lot of these people at behind the tables usually, but then sometimes also to your left and right. Like I said, you may not know they didn't want a table, or they just didn't feel comfortable having a table. Talk, always look around, listen, keep your ears open, hear people while they're talking to other people. You're going to learn. Maybe you say, hey, those two are right for each other. Guess what? What my company does matches with you. So always do that. And then even as simple as, again, I said, it could just be a friend. It could be somebody that could end up being a mentor, or you could mentor. Love networking. Do that. It's so important these days. Yeah, I said it. See, I beat my own. But all kinds of different benefits of it, right? Contractor teams, they're just desirable, both government and industry, because it's going to get more people involved. A lot of people, if you're too small, you may not be able to handle a full bid, but the government does want you to do that. They want more possible, contractors and suppliers in this network. I mean, you probably hear it if you're one that listens to the news. It's a true statement. This is not just with new administration. It's always been, all the way from federal, all the way down to state and local. You always want a big, robust supplier base, right? So a lot of times that has to do with teaming. If you network, by yourself, you may not be able to supply the government, but if you work with others, then you can, especially if you're a new one. If you're a newbie, highly suggest finding a partner. It could be as easy. You've heard the term like GSA, we'll get to that later, but GSA is one now. The feds are going to turn that into, at the federal level, it's think of that as like the government's Amazon marketplace. It's a very vetted program. And how do you get that? We would all I think all the apexes and even the government would tell you, probably don't go for it right away. Find that partner. So keep your ears open, ask people if they have a GSA. You could put your products and services on their GSA contract. And then you could bring that to the state and local level, right here, Cook County, the state. They have many of these big prime contractors like the Grangers of the world, all those food ones you hear, Cisco. They all have these built-in contracts already. If you are new to it, sadly, you're probably going to not have a great chance right in the beginning. But if you partner with these and you start building up, your knowledge of the government, and then as well as just getting small orders through these guys, now you built up your capability statement. You built up your past performance, you'll hear. And that's the best way to do it, is through teaming with other smalls as well as some of these larger primes. You will build up your base, whether it's, you get a bunch of little $5, $10, $15, $100 orders like that. All of a sudden, you're a bigger player than you think. And then that'll give you your shot at being a prime. So again, one of the great ones of that. Team, network. Number two, like this, right? Complement each other's unique capabilities. I already mentioned a few terms like that, but think about it. One side, another one of my favorite examples, two of these companies that I put together recently. One is fantastic talking like me. They're absolute alphas, both. It's a couple. They're both great at talking. Terrible at technology. Put them together with a company the opposite. This very technology advanced, extremely shy. These two now, after they've been working together for, I don't know, maybe 2 months after my event in March that Cook County was there, they have now won 4 contracts. 2 months later, they've won 4 contracts together because they were perfect, completely complementing each other's capabilities. They would have never guessed. They tell me all the time they would have never met each other except it was at our event. And because I shouted that to the roof, saying, find your partner here, just listen to everyone and you can figure it out. So yeah, awesome combination of those. And same thing to the government, when you combine some, now you become closer to that larger guy, right? That's how you're able to offer bigger pricing, because maybe you guys combined can buy, you have more buying power now. So that's how the government looks at it. When you combine, you're bigger too. Now they can say, hey, you know what? We do trust you now to deliver on time for us. Contract to team agreements, same kind of thing. What I just said. Some may be the expert. Maybe one company has already been doing this for 4 or 5 years. They get all the terms, but another is newer. But maybe the newer one has the product, the service, the expertise from their commercial lifestyle, their personal lives. So now you're teaming. Look what happens. Magic happens. And then here, see that bottom one is just, that's when you formalize it. Once you decide, hey, we're going to go after this big project, that's when I, probably talk to a lawyer, talk to, family members, put it on paper, formalize your agreement. And some more, again, same kind of ways, if you want to be some of these bids out there that you'll see, or maybe you've already seen, sometimes they're 100 line items, 200 line items. You can only do half. Guess what? Find some partners. You could get it all. That is how government, anyone else, when they say it's efficient, that's how they want it sometimes. That's just how it is. They want to make it easier, so they want 100 items, 200 items all in one order. Don't give up on that. Find a partner that can fulfill. And again, those could be partners from small, medium, large. A partner could be even like another manufacturer, a distributor. Look for those. That's one of my, if you're in the commodity business, one of my suggestions always, find those companies. It was one of my secrets. I succeeded really well as a, basically a solopreneur for a while. And they were like, how did you do so well in the distribution business? I specifically look for manufacturers that weren't in government. They want to get in, they're just small companies, right? So you were doing them a service by being their government, basically their government team. You got into it. You're the one that did all the bids and proposals for them. You're offering them something they didn't have. They don't have a government team. They don't have a government salesperson. You find enough of those, guess what? Now you're unique. You're basically a manufacturer at that point, right? You're being a manufacturer's rep. Sometimes the government doesn't like those distributor terms, or what you'll hear it. Guess what? You're a manufacturer's rep. When you have that kind of personal relationship with the manufacturer and you are their sales team, and you show them the value you're bringing to them, they'll consider you part of the team, and they'll tell you that. I've heard stories where some of these manufacturers actually even gave them emails, right? You're basically signed a different kind of contractor agreement, a teaming arrangement with them. You are literally part of the team. You're just you're a contracted outside contractor for them, and you are the manufacturer's rep in the government world. So think about that. That's one of those. And then same thing, like the example I used for the marketing gal, where she didn't have a full team that fit that bill, that fit the whole bid. So I helped her. She called, asked for the Apex's help. I went to the whole state, the state Apex office, and we shouted out to all of our clients. That's well over 10,000 in our network. And yeah, lo and behold, about 2-3 hours later, she had about 20 people knocking on her door to help out. And all those 20, probably the reason they did it is because they would not have been able to bid it themselves. So when you team, you're able to go after some of these larger ones that you normally would not have. Same as these, reduce weaknesses, minimize risk. These are just all good benefits of teaming. Instead of putting it all on yourself, which great for you if you can, but when you have a great partner, life's easier, especially in this world. Another big one, filling gaps in past performance. Like I said that, when you're a newer one, you find a partner that's been doing this for a while, but you're able to offer them, something, your skills, your skill levels, or even your product, right? Now you're both gaining from that. You as a new one, you're gaining some past performance, because when you're combined, you get, you can actually tell clients like, hey, or customers like Cook County, say, hey, we're actually, we got 10 years. Our new company formed together. We got 10 years experience and all these past awards. And then also you can count that as certifications as well, right? A lot of these larger, when I say larger, I mean like a larger small. Maybe it's a woman-owned business, but you have 4 or 5 other certifications. When you combine and put these teaming arrangements on paper, all of a sudden you're sharing those as well, the certifications. That is an awesome, awesome thing. And then even just all the way to technical capabilities. I mentioned that earlier. One set, you may be an expert at this part of marketing, but you're not at 4 or 5 other types of marketing. So when you team together, now the whole company as a whole, you hear those terms. Another example, sometimes it's hard to believe. You're like, how this company that just said they're 10 years old say they have 50 years of experience? That's where this comes in. It's teaming, because now you have, the 3, 4 new owners now together have 40, 50 years of experience. And doesn't that sound pretty awesome? That's going to sound awesome to you. That's going to definitely sound awesome to the government too. Same thing, barriers, whether it's money problems, geographic, especially then, somebody covers north, somebody covers south. Now you are, again, builds up your team, builds up your capabilities as a whole when you're teaming with people. And obviously increasing competitiveness. And same thing, attracting mentors. That's another thing. Not as big a deal. Okay. And then subcontracting. This is when you're working with those larger ones, right? You're not going to see this in the normal bids, normal bid boards, right? So these are when you see we'll see Turner here. With construction, we'll say Turner, Bechtel, Northrop Grumman's, food, Cisco, Aramark, those kind of companies, these bigger, large primes. And you want to say, hey, you know what? I know I'm highly qualified. I can bring my certifications. I can bring my 20 years expertise. Heck, sometimes I've heard of employees when they start their own business, they go back to their old company and say, I already worked for you for 20 years. I know how to do this. Let me be a subcontractor for you, right? So a lot of those, you're not going to see them on those normal bid boards. You have to go to almost each one of these sites, go under their small business pages, sign up there, register for them. You get access to their bid boards too. And sometimes they're not even on their bid boards. Once you get approved as a subcontractor for a lot of these guys, you're gonna be on there, just like you and I would have, a list of 3, 4 doctors, 3, 4 lawyers, government, and all these prime contractors. Same way, they have their favorite list of 5, list of 10. We'll call it that, somewhere between 5 and 10. Just like we would, right? You can't just have one doctor. That doctor may not exist tomorrow. Just how this world is. So same thing, when you are good and connected, that's where you use your old school. You have told them that you would like to be a subcontractor, you would like to work with them, and you get approved. You do your 2, 3 meetings with them, your capability briefing meetings with them, and you get approved. That opens up a lot of opportunities. And again, I've mentioned, 5 of those companies, but basically anyone that's ever done government work, even a McDonald's, Pepsi, they all consider prime contractors because they all sell to the government. So you can be part of those. Those are a lot more opportunities out there. There's so many opportunities out there. And whenever you help them, and it doesn't matter if it's a $5 thing, that builds up your capability statement. Moving down the line, it could be 100 of these $10, $20 orders. All of a sudden, after a few months, you do a few of those, your capability statements look a lot better. You can tell you are able to, the next time you have a talk with the government, you're like, you know what? I actually have a lot of history. I've done over 100 orders. They don't need to know the total price, but you can say, I've done 100 orders. I'm well in this. Okay. And I'm going to skip through these. The relationships. That's what this is all about. Subcontractors, everyone wants this business. So this goes back to old school. You are going to want to talk at those events. Anytime you see somebody with a Pepsi shirt on, make those relationships. I don't care if it's at the event or at the airport, wherever you see those shirts. That's a little secret. Go up to them. What's hiding? You're going for business. Make those relationships. Always be networking. You want your small business to succeed. Always be networking. And besides the fact, for those opportunities, all these big companies also have events as well. So you always want these chances, the chance to go to these events and meet even more people, not just potential clients, but, and customers, but also teaming partners. So, all right, we will go into a few more of these. Again, I talk fast, so sometimes I go through these pages. So as you see, government, whether that's all the way from military, federal, down to state, local, or even schools, we call it SLED, state, local education. It's always like this, right there at the top, there's a prime, then the sub. So real simple. Joint venture, that's one of the ones. This is one of the more formalized ones. This is where you've already talked to a lawyer. You've put this on paper. So then, two companies become one. Now you can share your certifications. You can share your past performance, all that good stuff. So it's usually formalized at this point. Then you can start going after bids and you call it by that joint venture name, And even this doesn't stop you from still having your own company, but this is what gets to the point where you can bid. Say one of you was not a MBE, but now that you put in the joint venture, now you can say, and now you guys are bidding together. So, and I put in some of these research, just examples of what you would be going into these. Once you got that joint venture, now it opens up way more, right? A lot more bids when you're on all these bid boards. And before it said, hey, this is set aside for MBE, this is set aside for a veteran group. But when you combine and you have some of these teaming arrangements set in place, opens up everything to you, right? Pretty much every small business designation. So that's where you can start coming to myself or any of the other apexes across the state, really dive deep into market research. I mean, there is so much that, it would take 3 other webinars to really go into super market research. This is how you're finding all those opportunities out there. Definitely don't have enough time in this webinar to go in this. Call me, call any of the other apexes. We will teach you how to find the Cook County ones, all these other ones. And that includes not just the bids coming out, but to me, dear to heart is always past, how to use past awards. And so that you can you can move from being reactive into very proactive and being ready for the next bids that are coming out next time. So you're well ahead of the game, getting your product, your service in front of, Lynette and the team so that they are aware. And guess what? Maybe by the time when you have the great teaming, but you were planned ahead that you're like, I'm about to form this awesome team. I found 2-3 awesome partners. We're ready for it. Let the team know. And start doing those capability briefings, show them, and lo and behold, maybe next year you're part of that. The bids, your name's listed on there as an and equal type thing. That is the dream, right? But you wouldn't be able to do that. If it was by yourself and you didn't have all that's sometimes necessary, right? The past performance, the different certifications, thus again, super important, but call me. We will look into all of these and way, way more. Again, that's probably the longest and heaviest part is the market research in the government markets. Okay. Teaming triangle, you see that. You'll have all these slides again. Okay, some of these more specific ones. Again, we talked about it where you combine so that you can put all that together. Your experience, past performance. Now you look way stronger, way larger. I always say that 50 years, 80 years. Can you imagine when you see it, you're like 100 years experience. Of course, that's awesome. But technically, that's just a marketing trick, right? But it's not, it's a good marketing trick. You combine with 3-4 other companies, you really do have that experience. You guys now, you're almost able to compete with some of those big guys because you have 4 super experts, on your team. Same thing, even this, right? One company might be such a good opening company. I call them openers and closers. Like there's openers that are just so good at meeting people. I use this as that example. They will have already these relations built in government, in all those prime contractors, commercial based. They have all these names and they have the phone numbers and the contact info, but sometimes they're not good at closing. So maybe you become their closer. So together, you have all these relationships already built in. Now you come in, you're able to close. You're able to ask for that order. You're able to be like, hey, put me on that list of 5 that my favorite Apex told me. How do I get on your favorite list? It's gonna be a lot. That'll be another webinar too, how to get on those. But we're saying when you have this good relationship and you combine, now you have that built in. Together, you have a lot more relationships together and a lot more contacts. And maybe it didn't work for you, but together it will work. Same thing, we talked about this, the restricted limited before it was set aside for an MBE or veteran. Now, if you find those right partners, you can go after these ones that before were limited to you, that you were not able to go after. Community accelerator, yeah, another 8A. That's another thing that we literally have webinars for just 8A. Geographic, we talked about that. Performance, same kind of way. Maybe, you're the newbie, right? So you feel that you've been left out and you're not considered for a lot. Well, guess what? If you find a more seasoned veteran, but you are still confident and proud of what you do and your actual experience and what you're able to bring to the table, you find that partner. Tell them, make sure that they want to partner with you. And then that opens up so many opportunities for you and the new company, the new joint venture, as we call it. And yeah, that's what it is. I mean, you're never, the small companies, whether you like to hear it or not, you're rarely going to get those huge, million dollar bids that everyone wants, but it's very, very difficult for the smaller companies. But if you team with, 2-3 good partners, just like that Obama project, you can do it. It's very, very possible at that time. Okay, some more of these. It's just more for you to, as you get into, you make your network and you grow your network, grow your partnerships. These are things that you'll want to ask, your lawyers to tell you once you get into the nitty gritty and you're ready to sign it. Just, things to watch out for. We can always talk about this more on a later date, but we're here just to talk about the basics of this. So again, decision time, prime, sub, joint ventures, heck, what's stopping you from doing all these? That's the way I look at it, right? Plenty of opportunity. If you got the time and energy like me, you go after everything, try it all out. I'm going to tell you, you'll find maybe they all work for you, maybe only some, but can't know if you don't try. So I would always look, ask us, ask any of us Apex, we'll point you in the right direction, but I'm one of those. Try everything, take as many swings as possible. Look at joint ventures, look at prime and sub, definitely prime and sub, obviously. And then as you move down the road, you'll hear more of these mentor protege programs. They're fantastic. Almost every federal agency does this. Even some state agencies now do it. It's almost what it sounds like. I know it says SBAs on this flyer, but again, almost average. DOD has mentor protege, Department of Energy has mentor protege, the Navy has it. All the federal and even some states have it. And what they do now is it's the government formalizing it for everyone. And there's a huge advantages to get accepted into one of these. So always ask about these. They help them mentor, the larger company be able to bid on some of these that they wouldn't have been able because they're too large. And it gives the protege, obviously, very insider. Once you get accepted in this, you're going to get bids that you basically win. Unless the mentor really messes up, you're going to win it. So really great programs, but hard to get into when you're newer. So we can obviously go into that later down the road. I know I have a webinar in July on this, so watch out. When you sign up for any of our Apex programs, even our calendars, you'll see it. We have weekly, multiple across the state. We have multiple webinars and seminars and live events throughout every week of the year. Okay, my favorite part. I just talked about a lot of these already, but how do you find, to me, it's anywhere. Where are you right now? Again, I told you, you're on a webinar. You're like, how would I find? Go into that chat box, put your name, your company name. That's your start. That's just a very little one. But every live event, every time you're at the park, doesn't matter. You're at the ball game. Ask. I know everyone doesn't like talking about work, but that could be just a personal call, a personal talk. It doesn't hurt to just, you'll find out. If you have a good conversation, you're going to find out, oh my gosh, this person this could be my partner. This is the one that Ian was talking about. This could be my future partner. All starts with that. Just a little conversation, just saying hello. And you ask, once it gets going, you ask about it. Have you done government work? Have you done like this, this, that, what kind of past performance? Are you a beginner, you're a middle person, seasoned veteran, whatever, you ask these and you are going to find out. By teaming up, finding some of these partners, that's your way in to this very difficult world. And again, through these are some other ones I'd already mentioned. Obviously, the live events, even webinars, non-live events, industry days. Hope you guys know what industry day is. Almost, a lot of the bases, a lot of the agencies. I just came last week from the Army Corps in Chicago District. They had an industry day. Cook County, I'm sure, has industry days. It's like supplier days, all these kind of live events. Highly suggest going to these. This is, make use of them. You're going there to network, get your face and company out there. And don't just go there to collect cards. All right. That's not any way to do it. Have a conversation, ask for that next meeting while you're at that. Another trick, if you truly care about what you're doing, you're already asking for the meeting while you're talking. If you're having a good talk with Lynette or somebody on the team at an industry day, set up that next meeting right there. Go for it. That is how you get into this world. Show that you care, show the energy and passion like I do. You have to do that yourself too. Same thing, even when you find those partners, show energy and passion. They're going to want to work with you. If they know that you care about your product and service, they're going to want to work with you. So again, all these live events, same thing as webinars, there's chances all the time. Keep your eyes open. There are going to be chances to network and find partners everywhere you look. And then even through the market research ways, whether that's SAM.gov, the Cook County stores, you're looking, when we say that you're finding partners, a lot of times they list interested parties list, right? You'll find, oh man, like I know this company that said they were interested, but I also know them well. They're not strong in this. That's where you call that company and say, I'd love to partner with you. Maybe together we can win this. So those are ways, you look at all those bid boards, whether that's the federal ones, state, local, school, you're going to be able to find possible partners while you're looking for those bids. So USA Spending, there's just a few of them. I mentioned SAM.gov, all the bid boards, basically. Even the private ones that I said, the commercial, the prime contractor ones, you'll be able to find that kind of past performance or past history, I'm sorry. And you will be able to reverse search that where you can find possible partners and then also contacts. That's another webinar, but that's what market research is so wonderful. Associations, what do you do? Are you a writer? There's writer association. It doesn't matter what you're. Food associations, construction associations, all those, sign up for them. You don't have to pay the annual fees, whatever they are, monthly fees. If you just go on their sign up on their LinkedIn pages, their social media pages, you're gonna be made aware of their conferences, and then even people you just watch. When you follow them, you're reading all their posts, right? You read the post. you see who is interacting with them. Those could be your next partners, for crying out loud. I forgot to mention that the beauty of social media too, right? You can find partners all the time. Even when you find partners, you follow each other. You're going to learn from each other how people post. You follow the company, you follow Cook County. You're going to, just by following social media, you will learn and improve your social media game. Social media, believe me, I wouldn't have believed this 10 years ago, but government using it, you should too. Everyone should. So again, ways to find it, ways to find opportunities, social media as well. SBA, obviously, I'm sure most of you have been part of that. All different ways. Ask them. Maybe I said that you can ask me because I've been in this world for so long. I do have, but that's everyone. When you find a partner, even when you ask Lynette, team, or any other government people, all I can do is just ask, right? Hey, can you, I have a great relationship with you. Can you introduce me to somebody at another department? They can easily say no, but it can't hurt to ask, right? So this is how you keep finding partners and more opportunities, more networking. Yep, this is another alliance. You can look these up. Google, yep, obviously everyone knows that. There are many more. We can go on. If this was 4 hours, I could probably talk for 5 hours. So attracting team members, this is on you. I always say, know your elevator pitch for both the government, other clients, and then also partners. It's all the same. You better practice your pitch all the time. Practice your 30 seconds. Don't lose them in the first 5 seconds. You practice that 30-second to 1 minute pitch, know it so that it shows your energy, your enthusiasm for your company, for your service, your, everything that you've done so that they know you're showing value to them. Why should they be a partner of yours? Same thing as when it's the government. Why would they buy from you? What sets you apart? What do you bring to the table? Have that practice. Seriously. It's probably my biggest pet peeve, when I was on the other side or when I am on the other side. When I'm on the other side of the table and somebody comes up and, it's like 10 minutes, just like, hello, how are you doing? But nothing about the company, nothing that sets you apart. Have those ready, practice it practice it for hours before, I don't care while you're talking to kids, practice that on your kids, practice your wives, husbands, whatever, have that elevator pitch fully ready to go at all events all the time. You're going to find partners and clients way better that way. And, just finish up. You're going to need that, obviously, right? You're going to need to trust your partner. You have all this experience and you find, the good partners, you do need that trust. And that's why you'll put it on paper eventually. So all these, you're going to have these slides. This pretty much brings the end. And that's where you're ready. That's when, once you're fully, you have all these networks, you find the right 2, 3, 4 partners, start putting it on paper. Turn that into a joint venture, turn that into a mentor protege, turn that into subcontractor contractor, and you can talk to us first before you even talk to the lawyer. So, hey, I'm not going to skip through this. This would take this a whole nother program, but I just wanted you to have it on the slides. These are another great program. And like I said, it's beyond SBA now. Everyone has it, all the federal agencies and a lot of state and local ones too. And here's my info. Feel free. I don't think many people, you probably have been to many of these webinars and you've never seen anyone put their cell phone on. That's me. You can reach me anytime. I'm probably the most accessible counselor in the US. Those, I think I saw one person on here that knows me. I answer Saturdays, Sundays. You're working on a bid or you're getting ready to see Lynette and the team at an event and you want a little practice session. Hold on, say that again. I'm finished. We can do questions now.
Yes, if you have any questions for Ian, you could either put them in the chat or you could come off mute and we'll put them in the chat and we will ask Ian the questions. In the meantime, we don't have anything in chat, but could you put your information back up, Ian,
sure.
so they can see it?
You know what? I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, great.
How
That's
about that?
even better.
I told everyone to write in the chat, so put your company names. Do it. Practice it right now.
Right. And so we would love your feedback. That's how we go about developing and designing different webinars that will help you be successful, things that are very interested in that you're interested in. So we would like for you to have you successfully assist. We have something, hold on, but like I said, please just look at our QR code. We need your feedback. Ian, I have a question from
Sure.
in the
And
chat,
Lynette, real
Evelyn.
quick too. I'm not able to put in the chat right now for some reason.
Okay. Evelyn wants to know, have you successfully assisted any food businesses with contracts?
Absolutely. And in fact, my center, because where we're located and kind of our background here, we probably have more food clients than any other center in the Illinois network. So just a couple examples. I'm not going to say the names right now, but many restaurants, we're the center that's had the last 7 out of the last 8 Groupon small business of the years from both Groupon and Grubhub. I personally, since I've been working with one client in the last probably 4 months. She had been working in the government market for about probably 4 or 5 years, zero success. Just kind of boosting her and kind of cleaning up her capability statement and setting her up with a few teammates and a few different networking ones. She was one of those perfect examples. When I said her product and service is amazing, she just didn't know the government stuff. And her social media was a little on the beginner level. Got her a couple of teaming arrangements, taught her the government stuff. She is now just won her 11th contract last week. So just in about 4.5 months, 11 contracts.
Awesome.
And one was through Cook County, the preserves. She's the winner of the whole summer series. She is going to be your caterer all summer at all the summer events at Forest Preserves. So that's just awesome. One of many. We're the food specialists here at Chinese Mutual Aid.
Well, Evelyn, you make sure you get in touch with him. We're going to send you all his PowerPoint, which will have Ian's information.
Right after this.
We have another one. What advice do you have for a service business where the space is safety training and consulting?
Oh my God, you're speaking my language. That's my history. That's my past. You didn't see that slide, but that's actually what I did. My 20 years in small business. I've been in safety and PPE manufacturing, as well as some consultation. So um, definitely call me on that note. There's definitely ways I've done it. I've walked that walk for 20 years. So there's on those cases, team with a manufacturer supplier of PPE and safety. So you guys now look like full service. That's how you can attack like a Granger, attack, those larger ones, well-known ones. We'll say like the Grangers, Showa, Ansel, those ones that can offer both the product as well as an assessment, a safety assessment. So I would highly recommend. You are a perfect example of a teaming arrangement. You find a couple of those, you will rock it, and call me. That's my background. We could talk for 3
Okay.
days about safety and
Oh,
PPE.
we have another question, and after this question, we may can take one or two more. Um, they want to know that they've really been going through the Apex bid list, but have never ran across anything for employment agency, and their next code is 561311.
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to answer that like immediately just off this. I mean, I'm good. I'm not that good, but same thing. You call me. You probably have never worked with me, and I want to. This is that Brian? I'm hoping you're
Yes.
talking about. You're not looking for a job, right? You're talking about like bids. Yeah, bid list. Okay. So I'm trying to say anything for employment agency.
And you know
He
what,
is
Ian?
probably, yeah, tell him to
You
call. I'm a little bit different because I'm the only one that came from your other side. I just look at everything with
okay?
your eyes. Yeah, have him call me.
Okay, and the last question, um, we have someone who wants to give you their contact information, but they're a consultant in accessibility, supplies and sales, formerly,
Awesome.
yeah, they're, oh, it went by real quick, but, hold on, went by so
Yeah, I'm
quick.
reading these too now. Everyone that wants to connect. I don't know why I'm the only one that can put in the chat. I'm glad you're
Yeah,
all doing it. Put chat, put your
yeah.
name so everyone sees it. Um,
So they were the first minority and female in the, world to build elevators. And so they want to give you their contact information.
oh, rock
But
on. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I'll help you market that. That's good stuff. Those are
yes,
differentiators. That's good stuff. Let's go.
so we are so glad that you're here, that you can be an assistant to our business owners, to help them to network, to help them to build their capacity, and to help them with whatever applications they have. And again, we need your feedback so we could continue
Awesome.
to bring you these type of webinars that would be of interest to you, that will help your business to become even more successful. And we after this, we yeah, we also would like to let you know about our upcoming webinars.
2 weeks from now. Yeah, go for that. 2 weeks from now. Round two. I'm gonna
Yeah.
share even more awesome info because of Lynette
So
and
the,
Cook County.
So if you look, we have so many great upcoming webinars coming up. And again, you will get this with your slide when we send it to you. And we have another webinar, of course, getting certified with Cook County. You want to get certified with Cook County. As a minority business owner and others. And we have Ian again. He'll be talking about identifying key resources for growth. That is amazing. That is be something that would be, and I talked to Ian, and a lot of the resources that he'll be talking about, it's at low cost or no cost.
Yes.
So we have our partners and sister agencies on the right side. So again, you will get this information, and it is coming to 3 o'clock. And I just want to thank you for your time. We want to thank you, Ian, for just being our presenter today, for giving out so much good information, and being willing to have a one-on-one with our small business agencies who want to contact you. So I would like everyone to do the survey, look at the upcoming networks and webinars we have coming up, and we're going to give you back the rest of your day and have a terrific evening. Thank you again for spending your afternoon with us. Have a great day. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Come to the event on May 21 next week. 500 attendees.
That's right. Have a great one. Thank you. And you're right, that is